Hello, 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 and welcome back to my podcast. Nobody asked your opinion. I'm your host, Siobhan McGriff. As always, nobody asked my opinion, but I damn sure I'm going to give it to you. What are we talking about tonight? I didn't get my, damn, I meant to have my Patron. I've been doing lately, um, uh, and I've been doing a shot of Patron and pickle juice, which is not classic as a pickleback. It's a pickleback shot. I do that. I'm actually set. One of those a night, I'm good. Classic is Jameson whiskey and pickle juice. Originated out of my hometown, New York, in Brooklyn. But and I'm actually not a tequila drinker. Taking this segue, but I'm not a tequila drinker. But I saw it somewhere recommend do tequila and try it, and I do it with a tagine rim. Oh my god, it is my dessert and dinner all at once. But yeah, I haven't had my my Patron shot, but I will as soon as this podcast is over. Um, okay, so what are we talking about tonight? Tonight we are talking about this one's titled Meghan Markle is Murky. Ooh, what does that mean? Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. Meghan Markle. Okay, let me start by saying, for those that don't know, I am mixed. I am biracial, just like Meghan Markle, except my mother was Irish and my father was black. When I first heard of Harry, Prince Harry, dating her. I think any person of color, particularly women of color, were super excited because to have the idea of a woman of color, even mixed, although that's a topic for another time because uh, I feel like as a people we only get adopted by one side or the other side when we do something spectacular. Otherwise, we're mixed. We're biracial. Either side can pick us up. But when I first heard about her and I, we're about 2.5 years apart in age, um, and first thing I thought of was, who is this woman, actress? Because I never watched the show Suits. Um, I was not familiar with her at all, not even a little bit. And then you see her, and uh, you know, definitely, a beautiful woman. And I loved her style. Her and I actually shared. I stole a lot of her outfits. I have a lot of um, uh, the clothing. We both share a love of natural fibers of clothes, of linen and cotton. And I've gotten a lot of great style ideals from her, particularly in the early time when she was first dating Harry. Um, and I fully support it, fully support it. And then you watched it slowly but surely go bad. they they were engaged and then they were married, and you're watching it and you're like, um, I did not watch the wedding. I think I watched a little bit of it after the fact. Um, I watched a little bit of after the fact, and I was, what was the word? I guess I was coming from from a half Irish background. My grandmother, who, my grandmother's family, all from County Cork. They're not huge supporters of the crown. I think anybody who has the Irish or the Scottish or the Welsh in their family, you're not huge supporters of the crown. But I've always been despite her murky history of Queen Elizabeth, I always admired Queen Elizabeth's work ethic. Truly admired it. That is a woman who uh, duty was tattooed on her ass, if anything was. I mean, to her dying breath, that woman. A lot of people didn't realize until the end she had bone cancer, and she got up to go meet a visiting dignitary. And if that isn't the most powerful bitch move that anybody made. Nobody talked about that. That woman literally had bone cancer and knew she was dying and got up, put on her drawers, put on her little outfit, put on her little hat, and did her job. You can hate her or not, but there's not a lot of people. There's not a lot of women who are like that anymore. There really just are not. I'm sorry. Um, but I watched a little bit of the wedding, and I was impressed that it seemed that the royal family was accepting her. and that the British people were accepting her, and they were in the beginning. It looked like they definitely were, and then again it kept going sideways, and then you started hearing XYZ um, coming out, and then was the Grand Escape, and now we're what 3 years later. They're living in California, living the life, and you know, I've always been a supporter of Prince Harry. Have just you know we're a couple years apart in age, but I'll never forget the look on his face because I remember I was watching Saturday Night Live actually um, when it came across that his Princess Diana was I'll never forget they stopped Saturday Night Live to announce that Princess Diana was dead in Paris, and then to watch him and his brother walk behind her coffin was just, oh, it was heartbreaking. You always wanted Harry to come out on the other side. So to, you know, definitely su- support um, him. I think the whole world adopted him as a little brother or a son or however you look at it. Everybody wanted that 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 little redheaded kid to come out with something happy. And so we flash forward, and we're 3 years later, and I gotta be honest. Yeah, Megan, you are, and I don't believe in lumping on women. I see what she's trying to do. I'll say that. I see what she's trying to do. She had her own. People seem to act like she was this whole humanitarian after she met Harry. But if you actually look at what she did, she was doing it herself. She's from childhood on, she's always been humanitarian and wanting to help people and giving back, and so she was actually doing it. But it doesn't mean I hate the way she went about it because and I'm not piling on the people that hate her. I find her calculating? Absolutely. And I hate that she's gotten exposed for it. I hate that she took Harry from his his country. I hate that she went about it the way it was, and not putting the blame on her because Harry had to join in the decision. But you don't take royalty to California. That should be the name of a movie. You don't take royalty to California. Um, you can't. I have to say, it literally fairy tale. This is a fairy tale relationship. Um, were I in her shoes, I can't imagine. Only because, again, I get it. I completely get it. But I just think there's an ego problem there. There's definitely an ego problem. I know if I had children that were of royal heritage, there would be no way I would raise them outside of those two kids are never just outside of royalty. Their history, their entire lineage is laid out for them. Um, I just, I find it fascinating that for me, I would say the audacity that she could, if you got to wonder how her kids are going to feel when they're older. I don't think she did them any favors. For Harry to walk away from, you know, that's a move, man. I don't know if you're walking away from royalty. He was what 3 places back from the crown. Um, you're walking away from, and I understand everybody's all about, oh, I have to check my mental health, and I have to do self care, and I have to okay, make me a royal. That's all the self care I'm gonna need. If I could walk around, because here's what's funny: she fought to keep the title, fought to keep the title, fought to keep the title for her kids. And I'm gonna say, I thought Queen Elizabeth was right to fight them and want to remove titleship. And here's why I'm gonna say that. That title means something. That title, that's a name. That means something. If you are going, so for you to fight and say that um, your children are due everything that Prince William's children are due. No, they are not. No, they are not. This is not a racial issue. No, they are not. Those kids are being raised in the idea of duty and life of the crown and what it means to do that. They're being raised in tradition. They're being raised in, and whether you agree with it or not, you can't pick and choose. And I don't think that um, she did the royal family any favors. And again, like I said, if you whether you like them or not, again, I've always been a fan of Queen Elizabeth. I know. I'm sure people are going to tell me, oh, and I know what the crown did in her name. I know what was done. I know. I'm a fan of her work ethic. Where Meghan Markle lost me was you could have done this after that woman was dead. That's all I'll say. That woman, there will never be, you will never have, uh, Meghan, you can live 100 lives and you will never do or have the honor that that woman did. You will never, that woman, what she did, again, that last photo of her, they were just releasing it again. You can see the bruises all up and down her arms and everything. It, that is that is applied duty. She put duty before everything else, including her marriage, her kids, everything else. She always put, and this is not based on the show The Crown. All you have to do is read anything about Queen Elizabeth, and you'll see um, she made a decision for herself to put that before her own needs. Um, you could have waited till after she was dead. I mean, the last years of her life shouldn't have been this. You know, it just shouldn't have been this. And she was still, she's the grandmother. I mean, when you look at it from a base level, she's their grandmother still, but she's also the queen. You know, what is she supposed to do? And I don't feel as a mother, Meghan, you did your kids any favors at all. There is no way I'd ever be like, well, I wouldn't want my kids to spend summers in Scotland hunting and fishing and living the life of a royal. I would never ever like this is a um, generational lineage, and so I just I can't. So when I say she's murky, because I see it, I see the calculation, and I'm not putting it all on her because Harry is. I think Harry needed was looking for a strong female relationship. You know, and obviously how Freudian is that? But he lost his mother, and he was looking for that, and she represented that. She took the lead, and for that I say good for her. I just wish she used her power for good instead of evil. Um, because you know everybody's going to call him the original cook for the rest of his life. They're going to say she emasculated him. They're going to say, you know, and he's okay with it. He's okay with it. You know, um, I just and now people are starting to talk about divorce rumors. You know, do I think they're going to get a divorce? My prediction is no. Neither one of them at this point can unfortunately leave the other because of everything that has happened um, in the past 3 years. You know, their future, everything is intertwined on them as a couple. But she has managed to royally screw every opportunity that has been presented in front of her. Just torpedo it like she's nobody wants to touch her now. And you know, the interview she did with Oprah looked self-serving. What was the point? You know, at some point you realize we all have family shit. Nobody wanted to hear all that. Nobody wanted to hear all that. And at the end of the day, there was no proof. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but there was no proof. And to make an allegation without any proof and it just leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth, of course you're not getting invited to the cookout. Meghan, that's over. Um, but you just the reason I say I can't support it is because Meghan, you ruined an opportunity for a lot of women and women of color to showcase who and what we are in a different way. Instead, you came in like a bat out of hell. And now the world collectively cannot stand you. You cannot do anything right. I think the best alternative for those two right now is to, if it's funny, if they were actually concentrating on all the humanitarian efforts that they were doing initially, or they would have done as royals, I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing her going out to dinner and now her trying to be an actress again. And that's the part that pisses me off. how you turn your back on royalty to go back to Hollywood to be a bit actress on some show. I mean, my God, just bring us all down. Um, but yeah, no, what is my prediction? Or what I think the best course of, I don't know. I'm not in their situation. They've had some horrible people advise them. I would say, stay quiet for a little while. Um, Stay quiet, allow your kids to either sit there quietly and raise your kids, but maybe stay out of the public eye. You keep forcing yourself down people's throats. Nobody wants to hear from you anymore. Between Harry's book, between your podcast being pulled, I wish I had had a budget of how much to do a podcast, and I just could barely get it together. If you have the avenues of your connections, and then you squander it, you squander it. Yeah, um, but I think you sit back and you take a year off, you regroup, you stop taking advice from people who have no clue. I love Oprah. Everybody loves Oprah, but Oprah is not a royal. Okay? Oprah, you're taking advice from people in Hollywood versus royalty. And I'm not saying they're perfect. I mean, look, you got Prince Andrew, he should be in jail. But you're this is a lasting lineage that maybe you should have had more respect for than what you did. And if I were her kid, I know if I were her daughter, I'd be pissed. In about 20 years, you mean I could have been a princess? That would be me. I could have been, and it's not saying she won't. It's not saying she won't have they won't have the exposure and everything, but they're not going to know or be raised in the way that she made it look like she was accepting of. And she turned around and said, they didn't accept me. Honey, they don't have to accept you. And this is not a racial issue. They don't have to accept you. They did. They did. I watched Queen Elizabeth. I watched her accept you. I watched that woman break with, I'm sure, a lot of tradition, a lot of wouldn't let anybody say a bad word against you, and you spit in her face. And so now, you have ruined the I guess the option or the role you would have had, and not even as a queen. If you chose not to be a princess, if you chose not to go for that title, okay, you didn't have to royally screw everybody and blow everything up. And again, I'm not putting it all on you, Harry. You have some blame in this. Um, but I think Harry was done with again. Harry was done. I have his book downloaded. I haven't had a chance to read it yet on my Kindle. But I think Harry was done once his mother passed. I don't think there was ever any coming back. Worst mistake the royal family could have ever made was to make him walk behind that coffin. That is. I understood that was a duty thing, but that I think that broke that kid. Um, and I think he just wanted his own happiness, and he was willing to do whatever he could to get it. But the problem is Harry has been raised in that he's been raised in that role, and I think you can see avenues now where he misses it. And that's why people are talking about divorce. That's why people are talking about an olive branch, because he knows it wasn't all bad. And he knows what his children are missing out on. He can't explain it to her, but you don't walk away from royalty to be a average individual living in California. You don't. Um, at least I wouldn't. But that's just my opinion. But as always, nobody asked my opinion. But I'd love to know what you guys think about this. I know we have a lot of supporters of Meghan Markle. So we have a lot of haters of Meghan Markle. But yeah, I don't support or encourage. Not a fan, though. I'm not a fan. I'll say that. I'm not a fan. I think you blew an opportunity to showcase, particularly again as someone who is mixed race as well, just show what we represent, what we could do, and you blew it up. You blew up the opportunity. You made it. You made it about race. You made it about uh, Meghan. Nobody cares, and I really don't think. I don't think that the entire royal family cared. This is not 1942. This is not Deep South Jim Crow, Kentucky. This is not that. Let's stop pretending. Um, you had an opportunity, and you've been given repeated opportunities, and you keep blowing it. But I'd love to know what you guys think. You think they'll stay together? Um, you think there'll be a divorce? You think Harry will run back screaming to England and throw himself down at the mercy of his brother and his father? Um, but either way, um, men have done far less and far stupider things for far uglier women. But I hand it to her. But love to know again what you guys think. Again, nobody asked my opinion, but I sure as shit we're gonna give it to you. I'm gonna go get that Patron shot now. Thank you guys for listening in, and I appreciate you. Have a good night. Bye bye.